I have a job for you.
Jeez, it's not another arc, is it?
No, not again. This time I need a full-scale home renovation.
Noah Construction and Builders is your design and build partner. We do it all, from additions and dormers to full-scale renovations. Schedule your no-cost design consultation today. Visit us online at noahconstruction-builders.com.
Noah Construction and Builders. Through dreams we design, with vision we build.
Welcome to MuscleSport Media Live. I am your host, Joe Pietaro. Anthony Tuminello is not here tonight, but thankfully Trevor is, or else you probably wouldn't be hearing my voice. But we're going to have a very special guest joining us in just a moment or two on the phone. Joe Wiz Sports of ESPN Radio. He is an expert handicapper, and we're going to talk a little bit about what he does, some of the stuff that went on this past weekend in college and pro football, as well as some stuff about Mets and Yankees, and, of course, the Monday Night Football matchup tonight, Atlanta Falcons at Philadelphia Eagles. Lines are opening up. Philly is given 5.5. The hook is very important there, with an over-under of 45.5. But none of this would be possible without our friends from Noah Construction-Builders.com. No job too big nor small for our guys over there at Noah. Pete and the boys, give them a call. Give them a shout at Noah Construction-Builders.com. Look up their some great stuff on their site, before and after shots of what they have and some of their jobs they've done. A lot of things happening in the sports world, obviously. NFL season, week 2, college football season, week 3, baseball playoffs, right around the corner. We got, Mets and Yankees both in the hunt for postseason berths. Right now the Yankees look a little bit better than the Mets. Let's hope that Lindor injury is not something too long. But we'll definitely talk about that when Joe joins us, and we'll get into some of the things that he does with his weekly newsletter, his tip sheet, and you can check out some of his stuff. He's been around for a while, knows his stuff, and I'm very proud to have him join us on MuscleSport Media Live in a moment or two. A little bit about what's going on with MuscleSport Media. I will be headed to Las Vegas, Nevada, October 10th through 13th to cover the Olympia weekend at the Resorts World Casino on the Strip, of course, one of the newer hotels there. The Olympia will be held there, and will be at the Expo at the Convention Center and at the Olympia at Resorts World. We will be there. I will be there with Lenny Gym Junkie, who will be helping me out, getting some of those interviews to you. And, of course, I want to thank Ammonomics.com for being the title sponsor of MSM's full coverage from Sin City. Speaking about Sin City, that's where the sports books were born, if you will, the legal ones at least. So looking forward to doing that weekend at Las Vegas for the Olympia, and I'm sure I'll pop into a sports book and get myself, I'll throw something on there in that week. That's, like I said, October 10th through 13th. You can follow all our stuff on Instagram Live at MuscleSport Mag, and you will be able to see everything that we got. And we do have Joe Wiz Sports on the line right now. I'd like to welcome you, Joe, to MuscleSport Media Live on WGBB AM/FM Radio here, Long Island, New York.
Hey, Joe, thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to bringing some insight, and hopefully we can make some money for all the listeners out there.
Nothing wrong with that. You are ESPN Radio guy. I was actually listening to you Saturday morning, and I threw 2 of your things that you threw out there on a 3-leg parlay. I hit the first 2. One of them I just added a 3rd leg on my own. I think it was a college football game, but you had the Yankees and Sox under 8, or under 9, or 8.5, which finished at 8. And then also I said, why not? You mentioned the Sabres and the Devils starting in Prague, and you went under on that one. So I have a long/short-term parlay still alive, because I was listening to you on Saturday morning. So maybe I'll hit that one as well.
Yes, And, well, if you did listen also, I'm not a big advocate of parlays. Parlays are high-risk bets.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can, in the next few minutes, educate some of the people that are out there listening. Your best chance of winning any game, Joe, are betting straight games. And people like to get involved with the 2-teamers, the 3-teamers. Yeah. And the more games you bet, the less likely you are to win. And, you know, my background's in the bookmaking industry, so we were never afraid of the guys that bet the parlays or teasers, but when the guys came in there and bet one game here, one game there, and we're betting big money, those are the guys we were afraid of that were going to hurt the house.
Yeah, parlays, they say that those are for the suckers. You know what it is, Joe? I play so light on FanDuel that I do it more for entertainment and just to stay on top of what's going on with the lines and all of that stuff. So if I put a couple of bucks and I put it on a parlay, it's when I want to play, I play straight. Like you said, I'll go more to the nuts and bolts of it. But you had the tip sheet. I'm looking it over. You did pretty good on that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the tip sheet, how it went for you, and where folks can find it?
Absolutely, Joe. Thanks for asking about the newsletter. It comes out weekly, and you know, we put it out when I'm on the show. I'm on 880 ESPN, which used to be 98.7. Now we're on 880, and we've gotten a lot of good feedback, a lot of new people listening in on 880 AM. They can also download the app on ESPN New York. But the newsletter, last week we started out, you know, one of my bigger plays, we had Kentucky, plus the points. We felt that they would hang with Georgia, and they almost pulled off one of the biggest upsets ever in college football. They were getting 24. That line dropped down to 22. We took Memphis, Joe. I know you and I had talked a few times. I've been betting against Florida State since the season started when they played back in Dublin, Ireland. They were a 10-point favorite. They lost that game to Georgia Tech. And I took them again. I bet against them again with Memphis. And I took them +7. You know, we got there. And then yesterday in the NFL, we played the over in the Saints game. Saints might be the Cinderella team this year in the NFL, Joe. Right now, you know, we played them over between them and Cowboys. I think the game was just about over at halftime. And then we came in and we took the Giants. But in my newsletter, I told people to take +3. So we got lucky there with a push. And getting good numbers is so important to people that are wagering. So whatever betting platform you do, I always tell people to shop around for the best spread available because that could make or break your season.
Yeah, definitely in the Giant game, you needed the buy down the hook there to win that one with the push on the 3. As far as what's going on with some of the things that you have seen so far in this season, like you said, Florida State has just been a disaster since the get-go. It seems like they're piling on, but is it just me, or has this season been very unique and odd and esoteric for both the college and the pro games as far as strange upsets in the NFL, low scoring, and I'll attribute that to probably not playing in the preseason, playing the real guys. But has this season seemed a little weird to you, what's going on in both Saturdays and Sundays?
Basically, like I said, more dogs are coming in than often, and that's why I'm off to a good start. I'm traditionally a dog player. You know, they say the house very rarely loses, and it's true. You know, and majority of my plays, I would say 70% of the games that I bet are underdogs. And I'll play some favorites, some small chalk. That's another term for a favorite for people out there listening. So I will play some small favorites, but I would say most of the time I will gravitate towards playing the underdog. And most people like to play the home team. They like to play the over. And you have to be very careful because look like a team like Kentucky playing Georgia. You know, Georgia had, you know, I talked about it in my newsletter. They play Alabama. They're off this week. They have Alabama in 2 weeks in Tuscaloosa. So basically they just got, you know, Smart, the head coach for Georgia, was just going through the motions. Didn't want to show too much because he has bigger things to worry about, like playing Alabama. That's obviously a game that they really, you know, laying big points on the road is never a good idea. And a lot of people do that, and then they get smoked. You know, when you look at it here, look at the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, how do you figure them out? Week 1, they go out and play Kansas City. They're very competitive in that game. But then yesterday they had a 10-point lead against the Raiders. We came on the Raiders, and, you know, people are blowing my phone up and saying, hey, why would you play the Raiders playing the Ravens? Ravens just lost to Kansas City. You know that Harbaugh. I said, listen, call me after the game's over. And nobody called me after the game was over because they won outright. I didn't expect that, but I took the points. But I like to play the dogs, and the dogs have been doing very well for us.
I had earlier in the summer, I guess during the preseason, I posted a few things and tagged you on it. I had picked the Steelers, and I put some money down on it. I put my money where my mouth is, not too much because I'm kind of cheap, but that's a story for another day. But I had picked the Steelers and the Raiders to have better seasons than they were predicted to have, and I have them both at 9 wins. And and you and I agreed on this other one when we spoke another time on the phone. We both are not high on the Jets whatsoever. I have them missing the playoffs with 9 wins as well. Not that the Steelers and the Vegas Raiders are going to make it, but 9 wins for those two teams in the circumstances they were at the start of the season would be a successful year for them. At the Jets, that would be unsuccessful. Give me a little of your thoughts on Raiders, Steelers, and the Jets.
Well, let's look at our hometown team, the Jets. The Jets were fortunate enough to get by the Titans yesterday. They won 24-17. A lot of people were on the Jets in that game, and I had gravitated towards playing the total in that game. They played under 42. It went down to 41. Jets playing the Patriots Thursday night at MetLife Stadium. So that'll be an interesting game. Right now, the updated line for that game has the Jets favored by 6.5. The total's at 37.5. But Patriots have shown they could play as well. I mean, they went right down to the wire. They beat Cincinnati, and they went right down to the wire yesterday with Seattle. But the Jets have to have a 10-day rest till they play on a Sunday against the Broncos. Broncos with Bo Nix have struggled. They got the Vikings, which will be a tough game for them. That's an NFL Network game. It's a 9:30 game as well, so it'll be overseas. And right now, Sam Darnold and the Vikings, we would love nothing better to beat this former team, right? And then they got to play the Buffalo Bills, and then they got to play the Steelers. So it's not that easy of a schedule. Everyone said that the Jets have an easy schedule, but so far, Aaron Rodgers has been pedestrian, to say at best. He's 40 years old, and he's managing the team well, but he didn't play well against San Francisco. I don't like Saleh as a head coach, and I'd be surprised if the Jets, make the playoffs this year. I'm hoping they do, but listen, Rodgers so far, so good, but he gets hit one time, who knows what's going to happen there. Pittsburgh Steelers, they play in a very tough division, Joe. We don't know what to expect with them right now, because we know that the defense is very good. We know that they were going to have Russell Wilson as their main guy, but they switched to Justin Fields. I felt that Justin Fields would be a better choice than Russell Wilson because he's more mobile. In this day and age, everything's based about, there aren't that many pocket passer quarterbacks anymore. Everything is based on being able to be mobile. And the Steelers, they're known for their defense, and their defense is what won the game for them in Atlanta in Game 1. They had 6 field goals and won the game. And then yesterday against the Broncos, same thing. Their defense got it done. We'll see what they do on Sunday. They take on the Chargers, and my early inclination that game, Steelers are a small chalk. They're laying 2.5. I think it's a big game. Steelers are at home, and the Chargers are at home playing on the East Coast for the second time. Pittsburgh, more or less, is the East Coast, even though it's further in. But I think the Steelers could knock off the Chargers there. But then they got to travel to the Colts, and then they got the Cowboys. So it'll be interesting to see with the Steelers. But Mike Tomlin is a good coach, and the Steelers are always a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, Tomlin, a fantastic coach. The players love playing for him. I liked Justin Fields. I thought that the Bears should have traded down and kept Fields, but that's another story. We can look at Caleb Williams last night. Flashes, yeah, but I still feel he's not going to be what everybody expected him to be doing there. Let's talk a little bit about MNF. Like tonight, we got Atlanta at Philadelphia. Philadelphia, of course, has had the extra 2 days because they played the opener in Brazil on Friday. Won the game. Atlanta did not look good and lost their opening game. What do you think about tonight's game? You're not going to give too much away, but as far as just on the outside looking in, what do you feel about tonight's matchup, Falcons and Eagles?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I mean, the line in this game is at 5 and the totals are 45.5. And Joe, sometimes I let the line dictate where I make my plays because normally, we put out the newsletter, we talk about certain games, but the day of the games is where I make most of my big plays because I have to see where the line's moving. And hey, we're less than an hour away, maybe 35 minutes away from the kickoff of this game between the Eagles and Falcons. The public is all over the Eagles, okay? However, the line doesn't indicate that. Normally when people will bet the favorite, the line would move up. So if everyone's betting Philly, why is the line dropping? It was 5 and 6 and then 5.5, seen 5. I even see a small place that has the line at 4.5. The total of this game's at 46.5. Based on the performances, I know the Eagles play well in Brazil, and we had the Eagles in that matchup. We had them on the money line. Falcons played poorly, but I think Kirk Cousins is going to come to play tonight. I think there's going to be a more competitive game, and I think that the only way to go in this game is to play the dog. So I'm going to give an early Christmas present to everyone out there listening on September 16th, and the line's at 5.5. Now, here's what I did, Joe, and this is what I mean by buying points. Earlier, the line was 5.5. I bought 1.5, and you could do that at certain books. FanDuel offers the alternative spread. Yeah. I always want to get the best number available, just like when you go shopping to buying gasoline, whether you're going shopping, food shopping, with the economy the way it sucks. You want to be able to get the best bang for your buck. So I'm taking the Falcons. Most people have it at 5.5, but you can buy it up to 7. So the event that the Eagles do win, you get a push instead of a loss. And getting a good number for the spread could dictate how successful you are in sports betting, and I like to treat it as an investment. But based on the line, the bookmakers are definitely going to need the dog in this game here, and they're telling you that because they're not moving the line. Even though everyone's betting the Eagles, they moved the line has dropped. It's very rare you see that happen. When it does, the dog covers maybe 75% of the time.
Excellent analogy on that, and good picking up on that. Because to me, it's like everybody's been figuring the Eagles without even thinking about it. But like you said, why is the line not going anywhere? This line should be 7.5. It's
going down. The public's betting the favorite. The line's dropping. When that happens, that's a recipe for the books to crush the public.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we know the Eagles have some guys banged up and stuff like that. So maybe this is a game. Maybe Atlanta could steal it, or like you said, they can even just push the cover on that, or even cover if the Eagles win by less than that. But I definitely like the tees going up. You think teasing up to a 7.5 would be okay, or you think the push is good enough?
I'm normally I always want to get the spread so I'm protected. Not so much necessarily to go out and get the win, but if there's a spread and it's 5.5, if you have the ability to move the line to +7, you have to put up a little bit more juice. So those of you listening that are new, you're betting 5.5, normally you put up 110 to make 100. Yeah. In this case, if you're moving it up to 7, you probably have to put up 130 or 140. But it's like having insurance, like we had yesterday with the Giants. The average person that bet the Giants lost, but if people took them +3, you live for another day, and you can live, because if you get a push and you get a tie, you get your money back, no harm done. But if you lose a game by a half a point and you don't have that, you don't move that line to get maximum value, it could affect the how well you do throughout the season. So I'm always looking to get the best spread available, and here the Falcons are 5.5. I still think the 5.5 is okay, but I'm always a frivolous shopper when it comes to sports investments. I'm taking it to +7 just in case. It's like being at a red light, this day and age when you're driving, you don't want to get rear-ended. When you do, you want to make sure you got Progressive there to call and
Definitely. Okay, so there we are. That's a really good tip right there. You got time to put it in there, and then I know tonight there's a live bet action on FanDuel also for Monday Night Football. We got only a few minutes left that I know that you're able to do with us. I want to talk a quick thing about Big Blue, and then we'll talk a little bit about Mets and Yankees. Big Blue, shoot.
Well, when you take a look at the Giants, they were an absolute disaster in Week 1 against the Vikings. And yesterday, as much as people may talk about, hey, the Giants are the first team to score 3 touchdowns and not allow a touchdown and still lose the game, but it's embarrassing because you have to remember the Commanders had 7 field goals, Joe. That tells you that they were in the red zone 7 times. Yeah. And if they scored 7 touchdowns, they would have scored 49 points, or even half of those. The Giants' defense is terrible. Daniel Jones, he had an okay game yesterday. They got to go play Cleveland on Sunday, which is not going to be an easy task to do. They're going to be getting 7 points there. The Giants have a brutal schedule. They have the Cowboys coming up. They got the Eagles playing twice. The Giants season, it's amazing. We're only going into the 3rd week, and the Giants season may be over already. I'm not sure what the answers are for them. Rookie Neighbors had a good game yesterday, 10 catches, but he did drop 1 pass in the final minute or 2 where they were driving to take the lead. So, Giants, you're in for a long season.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like the whole basically administration of that team. I don't think and that's a team that has been always run like a clock. They've always been really great organizational, and I think this crew that they have there now, front office and on the sidelines, is not the right ones for the job. And I think we'll probably see some changes going on after the end of this year. They're probably going to be picking down, the 3 or 4 win team, most likely. Mets and Yankees, what's the latest you're hearing with the Lindor? What's going on with his health?
Lindor's game by game. The Mets have a very tough schedule, though. I'm rooting for the Mets. They are on 880, the same station the Fine Line is on. By the way, anyone listening in right now, I'll be on every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. On the Fine Line on 8 a.m. and then, of course, Sunday at 7 a.m. And he asked how people could get a copy of my tip sheet. They just go to my website, joewizsports.com. Also, you can send me a DM on Instagram or Twitter. I prefer Instagram, joewizsports. But hey, the Mets, like I said, they've been an underdog all season long, but if you're a Mets fan, you got to keep your head high and hope that they can continue to drive. They got 4 games with Philly starting on Thursday, which is not easy because Phillies are playing for the number 1 seed. Phillies have the best record in baseball, and the Phillies are going to win the World Series. That's what I'm projecting. I'm thinking the Phillies are going to finish the job they didn't get done last year when they took Arizona for granted. The Yankees are going to win the American League East. They're comfortable. They're 3 games ahead of Baltimore. Baltimore has been struggling just as much as the Yankees. I think the Yankees advance to the second round and maybe perhaps take it a step further. But the whole thing's going to be Cole. He still hasn't been 100%, but the Yankees pitching staff after Cole is very suspect. I don't trust Rodon or Schmidt, and their bullpen is terrible, and that's what will be the downfall of the Yankees getting further in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I didn't think the Mets were going to be more than a 500 team this year. My expectations were very low, so as a Met fan and then also as a sports writer and a journalist, I'm very pleasantly surprised at what they have done so far. To me, even if they don't make the playoffs, I think this was still a successful season when you were going in and you saw they kind of put this pitching staff together, like little Band-Aids here and there. And it's done pretty well. It's, these guys have definitely pitched really, really good, a lot of their starters.
Absolutely. I mean, the Mets, like I said, how they started was terrible, but since June 1st, the Mets have one of the best records in all of baseball.
Yeah.
And it's all going to come down to the next week. They got 4 with the Phillies, then they got to play 3 in Atlanta, and then they got to play 3 in Milwaukee. Let's hope that Milwaukee doesn't need the games, but this is tough for Braves and Phillies and Lindor not being 100%. But yeah, it's one of the few times I would agree that a team doesn't make the postseason considering a success. But the Yankees, on the other hand, them not getting to the World Series or more, or winning it all would be a disappointment.
Yeah, that's the World Series team, the Yankees, when they brought Juan Soto and the pitching staff. I mean, they have some holes in there, but they do have enough starters. But the whole thing is like Cole. I mean, like you said, he's really not been himself all year, even after he came back. I mean, so it's kind of hard to judge that staff if their ace isn't at his 100% or whatever it is. But I don't know. I still have a gut feeling about the Yankees doing well in the postseason. I had picked them to win the AL, so I'm going to stick with that. I'm not going to change now. I picked that in the preseason. I feel that they have enough bats that'll get it going, and I think the games will be tighter in the postseason, as they always are. And depending on the matchups, I think they're going to do well. I mean, to me, Judge is a generational type of player, perfect type of guy for the Yankees. Going along with the line of all of the greats over the years.
If the Yankees get into the post right now, if the season ended, Joe, Baltimore would be playing Kansas City. Mm-hmm. Houston would be playing Minnesota. Yanks would play the winner of Baltimore and Kansas City. So that might be favorable because they would avoid the Astros until the AL championship. And then Cleveland would take on the winner of Houston and Minnesota. So if all things go according to schedule, Yanks would have to face Baltimore. I would like the Yanks going to play Baltimore as well one more time in the 3-game series. So after the Yanks come back, they have 3 in Seattle, 3 to Oakland. Then they still got to play Baltimore for 3, and that's where we're looking to play in the factor here. And then as far as the Mets are concerned, if the season ended right now, the Mets and Braves are tied, so the Mets would play the Brewers. Atlanta or the Mets are going to play the Brewers. And I think that the Mets, if they get in, they have a shot against the Brewers because they wouldn't have to face the Padres or Arizona until they wouldn't have to face them at all, because then they would go up against the Dodgers, because Dodgers and Phillies would get the bye. So it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I think the Mets, it was lucky that they were able to play the Padres, Diamondbacks, and Braves, because if you got to play these teams head to head, you can't worry about weak schedule. These are games they have to go into Atlanta no worse than 2 games out, or better, for me to feel that they have a shot to go and do this. And if they don't make it, like I said earlier, they still overperformed and had a really, really fun season with a team that was very likable. I mean, there's guys that are on the field, and a lot of good things. Vientos was good this year. Alvarez, maybe a little bit of a step back, but he's still part of the plan, obviously moving forward, and a big part of it. And we'll see what they do with Alonso in the offseason. But this is a team full of guys that are very easy to root for, in my opinion.
Well, let's see what the Mets do. They're down 1-0 right now. We got a live update, top of the 4th inning. It's early. It's only the 4th inning. Don't panic. We're getting ready for Monday Night Football. And Joe, want to remind everyone the fine line. Every Saturday morning, I'm on at 8 a.m. Sunday mornings at 7 a.m. We break down all the college football, NFL, baseball, and, of course, on Instagram, Joe is Sports. And if anybody wants my tip sheet, we did really good with the tip sheet last week. We had Memphis. We had Kentucky. We had the over in the Dallas game. We had the under in the Houston Texan game. So we did really well. They can get a copy of it on my website, joewithsports.com. And listen, I do appreciate you having me on the show. And I know you and I have been talking, and hopefully I can hopefully we can bring everyone a winner tonight with the Falcons, +7. Get that line at +7 on the Falcons, and we can start out with a great win for week 3 of we're closing out week 2 of the season and starting out week 3 on Thursday.
Tease that 1.5 up and go with Joe. I'm going to do the same thing myself before I get in the car tonight over here. Joe Wiz, W-I-Z Sports. All his social media is the same, at Joe Wiz Sports and joewizsports.com. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on MuscleSport Media Live on WGBB. Joe, I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Thank you very much.
All right, there he is, Joe Wiz Sports. This guy knows his stuff. Now, trust me, he throws out little dibs and, drabs, but this is a business for him, so he can't give away the store, per se. And he threw out a couple of things. Like I said, on Saturday morning, I was listening to his show. It's on 880 ESPN Radio. I don't know why ESPN, I didn't want to ask him about it because he's not part of management, but to me, I thought 98.7 was a good spot. They said that signal was not that good, and 880 AM is better. So I've had no problem with 880 on my car radio at all, and I enjoy ESPN Radio. And on Saturday and Sunday when Joe's on, 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. respectively on the weekends. The Fine Line, it's FEINLINE is the name of his show. He also does a lot of personal appearances and stuff like that. This is what I'm going to try to coordinate some stuff with MuscleSport Media and the Fine Line with Joe and do some stuff together, sports-related material. But he gave you that pick. I mean, that tip is a very important one if you think about it, because when the line doesn't move, when all the money is going to that one team, there's a reason for it. The book, like you said, the book never loses. And even with the VIG and with the -110 and all of that stuff, they always, they're hoping for the split the bet down the middle so they win on the VIG on everybody. They also want people to take a bath on these things. It is a business for them as well, especially with this whole FanDuel and BetMGM and ESPN Bet. There's so many different books out there that are on the App Store and stuff like that. And it's some states it's still not legal. So it's funny, when I was in Pennsylvania this past weekend, my wife, I had to, I knew it was a previous experience. I was there, and I know that it was legal there. I've been in Ohio, it's legal there. Obviously, when I go to Vegas, it's legal there. But I was in Florida before it got legalized in Florida, and I was watching, I guess it was the Thursday night game, and it was the Steelers, I forget what, and I just had a gut on this one, and I was going to hit it live. And I go, and betting is not allowed in the state you're in right now, because you have to read your phone to see where you are, obviously for legalities. And I'm like, oh no, and I knew I was going to hit this one, and I had a few in me, so I was probably going to be sloppy with it, and I couldn't do the bet. So if you do check out another day, I want to have Joe on again and have him just give us a little differences between these different sites. I personally like FanDuel. That's the one that I use for my sports betting. I find it to be, I like the boosts. I know those are traps and stuff like that, but like I was telling Joe, I play very small amounts. So to me, it's more of an entertainment and or content creator than it is. I'm not doing it for money. If I win, that's great. Most of the time, I just roll it back into the next bet. I like to bet the horse racing they have on there. You can bet horse racing in Australia on this thing. So sometimes you get a little profit boost or something, or a win bet insurance. They have something called the no sweat bet, and it's up to $10. So let's say I put $10 on the Falcons tonight, and I lose. I get $10 bonus that I have to use within, I think, 7 to 10 days on FanDuel. So that's what I call a no sweat bet. You can bet the $10, lose, but still have that money to bet something. So I like to use that bonus money for futures. I'll put money on MVPs and all different things down the road. I already picked my NBA MVP. Let's go Jaylen Brown. It was like 2,500 to 1, and I was shocked with the way Jaylen Brown played in the finals. But that's what's the stuff going on with FanDuel. Thanks once again to Joe Wiz Sports for joining us at Joe Wiz Sports, Noah Construction-Builders.com, MuscleSport Media, MuscleSport Mag, MuscleSport Radio, all of that good stuff. We will see you guys next week.
Noah, I have a job for you.
Jeez, it's not another arc, is it?
No, not again. This time I need a full-scale home renovation.
Noah Construction and Builders is your design and build partner. We do it all, from additions and dormers to full-scale renovations. Schedule your no-cost design consultation today. Visit us online at noahconstruction-builders.com.
Noah Construction and Builders, through dreams we design, with vision we build.